Okay. So once again, we're starting chapter 12, and here we are, letter number 12. The Alter Rebbe begins, it's quoting a verse from Yeshaya. Yeshaya has a verse, Isaiah 32:17, where it says, V'hoya maisa hatzedakah, the maisa, the doing of tzedakah, Sholom is peace. V'avedis hatzedakah, and the service of tzedakah, hashket v'vetach adelem, brings serenity and security forever. Now, many commentaries write, what does this verse mean? Because it seems to be repetitious. We say the action of tzedakah is peace. The service of tzedakah brings serenity or quiet and security forever. So we're going to see what this means, but the Alter Rebbe here is going with Targum Yonis ben Azil. Targum Yonis ben Azil is of the opinion that it's talking about two separate things, not two the same things. We're just saying it in two different ways. Talking about two completely separate things, and these two things have different results that it elicits above. One, the act of tzedakah, maisa, the doing of tzedakah elicits shalom. Avodas tzedakah is something even greater, something even more. So we have to see two things here. What is the difference between maisa tzedakah, doing tzedakah, and avodas tzedakah, the service of tzedakah? It's like some sort of service or work. What does that mean? And what's the difference between these two types of peace or shalom what we're achieving? As a side note, it's not the interpretation we go here. As I was looking up this verse and reading a lot of fascinating commentaries on this verse in Isaiah, one thing I saw interesting was Maaseh Tzedakah translates as me'aseh. There's a famous concept that it says somebody who convinces someone else to give tzedakah is a much greater reward than giving yourself. If I go to someone else and say, you should give $10 to tzedakah, or if I was a fundraiser, you should give charity to this cause. The mitzvah of one who causes to give charity is greater than one who gives it. So some say it means those who encourage others to give tzedakah. Well, that's a good thing in life to know.
Could be also that shalom could be that you feel complete when you're doing tzedakah.
Could be.
Shalom.
Yeah, shalom could be. Again, there are more than one interpretation. We're going to go with a certain one.
Okay,
Shalom is wholeness and serenity or completion. Somebody gives tzedakah, does become complete. To understand this and to understand the difference between the word shalom of peace and hashke v'vetach and like a quiet, the serenity and security, let's go and analyze another pasuk. There's a very famous verse. The verse says, Oise Sholom b'mreimov. We say it, it's a song, it's a part of davening, we say it in benching, Oise Sholom b'mreimov, he who makes peace in heaven. Which right away, we have trouble with this verse. First of all, we have trouble with peace. We don't like to get along. What's the trouble? You know, the first requirement to make peace, there's one thing you require to make peace, and that is you have to have the ability to have conflict. If there's no ability to conflict, those are things making peace. Like it's returning a lost article. The article has to first be lost. Returning stolen items, you got to first have it stolen. Making peace means there are two sides who have some sort of conflict, and you make peace. You don't have to make peace if you have one thing. There's no peace to be made. It says when Hashem created the world, the second day of creation started all different issues. Suddenly there was separation. Suddenly there was two. We had to go completely with the third day. The third day is called good because it was missing on the second day. The second day doesn't say it was good. It was missing because once you have two, you have division. As long as there's one, everyone gets along. You have two, complications start. So how do you have the issue of conflict in heaven? Oisa Shalom b'mreivav means he who makes peace in the heavenly abodes and above. Is there conflict there? Is there someone not getting along? Is there some issues? How do you have conflict? So you have to understand that. So he says, to understand the difference between the action of tzedakah and the service of tzedakah, and between peace, to some sort of quiet serenity, tranquility, and security, we have to first examine al pi masha'amar azal al pasuk based on what the sages tell us on the verse of Oise Sholom b'mreimov, he who makes peace in his heavenly in the high places. So where do we have this case of issues between Malach Michael and Malach Gavril? We know each angel has his particular nature, a particular job, particular character. Malach Michael and Gavril is some sort of not getting along here. What does that mean? So he says, Ki Michael sar shal mayim, v'Gavril sar shal eish. You have Gavriel is the fire, Michal is the water, and they could theoretically clash, and fire and water sort of don't really play well together in the sandbox, they don't get along. So you have Hashem makes peace between them. And he says, we don't have one extinguish the other. So this we're talking about a certain event in Jewish history. There's an event in Jewish history that we're referring to where this event takes place, and we have this whole issue of the conflict, the conflict resolution. Everyone getting along. No one had to give back land. No one had to trade land for peace. They sort of made peace. What was the story? It was one of the plagues where God wanted to bring down hail upon the Egyptians. But God didn't want just a regular hail. That's not so exciting. He wanted to do a little special. He wanted fire and water mixed together. He wanted it to be like a Molotov cocktail, not out of glass, but out of ice with heat. Now, the problem is, if you're having true heat, the ice is going to melt. If you have true water, and the water's going to melt the ice, extinguish the fire. How do you have these two come together? Hashem made peace between them. He had peace. How do you have peace between them? So we have to understand fire and water don't really have their own identities. Fire and water is a symptom of something else. Whenever you have something going on, you could treat the symptom or you could treat the cause. The cause is not fire and water. You're not getting along. The cause is they are subsidiaries or symptoms of Michal and Gavriel. In other words, they are symptoms of Chesed and Gevurah. They express themselves this way. So Chesed and Gevurah seem to clash. Therefore, fire and water seem to clash. So the way he resolved this, instead of going and taking care, if someone, God forbid, has a certain illness, and the illness causes a rash or aching, you can give a Tylenol and take away the aching, or you could solve the illness, then the aching will go away too. So are we going to deal with the clash between the fire and the water, or go to a higher place, deal with the clash between the angels? Michal and Gavriel, you solve that, the water and fire is no problem. They have no issues. They're not even part of the story. They don't have an opinion in the matter. They just do what their commander on top says to do, so they function that way. So you have to understand, yes?
Fire and water can eliminate each other.
Right.
And they can completely cancel, so there's nothing.
Right.
As the water melts, and
There's no more
the fire makes it evaporate. So both will be gone completely, which is interesting.
Right. Or one will be dominated, which means one will destroy the other one.
Right.
Right. So let's say you put and you throw water on top of it. If you have enough water, the fire goes out. You have little water, the water cooks out. It just evaporates and it's gone, like you said.
But
So
I would imagine between two angels, they would eliminate each other because they're both
theoretically, but the question is, how do you have angels fighting in the first place? What does that mean? They don't get along? Let's take an example here in this room, or if it's not comfortable in this room, let's take about our community. There are some people who are much more chesed. What's chesed usually mean? Compassionate, understanding, giving. There's some people who are more gevurah, more strict. Sometimes they don't get along. But oftentimes, or most times, there's nothing wrong with two people. One's a strict person, one's a nice person, or I don't want to say nice, one's a chesed person, and they can get along very good. I could be a Republican and a Democrat, and you can be a Democrat, we get along, and so we can't. Meaning, how could two people that are so different get along? Because the answer is very simple. I am not chesed, I am Moshe Rapoport. I have the attribute of chesed. I also have the attribute, the nature of liking chicken. I like taking walks. I like certain types of music. I could find common things. We both like the same community. We both enjoy Tanya class. Meaning the fact that we have very differences in one area, there are many other things that combine us and unite us. Why is that? Because chesed is not my identity. Chesed is something that I have as part of my composite story. Amongst my enjoyment of nice food, nice music, friends, going around, being things, I have chesed too, and I have kind, and I have gvurah too. And the truth is, every person has a mixture of chesed and gvurah together. Like we know, if you want to be a good parent, you can't just be nice. You have to be strict. You can't just say, ask for candy? Sure. More? Sure. You want to stay up all night? Sure. You want to run on the street? Sure. You want to stick a paper clip into the outlet? Sure. That's not kind. That's foolish. Kindness means that I balance it with strictness. After the second piece of chocolate, I say that's enough. After a little staying up late, you go to sleep. You can't run into the street. You get either a patch or yelled at, or somehow punished that you, or what's the word? educated that you can't run into the street. Don't put the bobby pin into the outlet. What do you mean? Why are you so controlling? Because I care. So which means we all have all those things together.
And that's Gevura, caring.
Right. Gevura is, well, we'll see in a moment. We'll go in a second a little more deeper. But Gevura is a certain amount of strictness, a certain amount of. Angels don't have both. We have a rule that says an angel is only given one job to do. Can't do two jobs. We have a famous story of Sodom that Hashem sends different angels. 3 malachim came to Avram's tent. Why? One was to heal him. One was to destroy Sodom. You can't give a guy 2 jobs. You can't send me to the store and to the gas station. I mean, I could drop off the stuff at the garbage dump and I could buy new stuff in the store. I mean, the angels are quite capable. I can't do multitasking. It's 2 separate jobs. Go destroy Sodom, pick up late. I mean, they're pretty capable people. The answer is a malach is not a composite of chesed and gevura. The angel Michael or the angel Gabriel is 100%. It's like saying, well, I'll tell you what it's like saying another one. In my mind, it's like saying, why can't you go north and south at the same time? Okay, so you're not going to, I'll do a little bit south, a little bit north. I'll be a cop. Either you're going north or south. If you're taking a whole journey and a confusing ride or going around, is one thing. But if a malach's job is, I go north, you're not going south. If I do this, I don't do that. You can't compromise on things that are opposite of your identity. That's why the definition, when someone used to say it was a big thing in the 50s, 60s and 70s, unfortunately still today, but then much, Jews for Yashka. Jews for Yashka, it sounded like such a nice thing. It's like, Jews for Yashka. It makes no sense because it's not like saying Jews for supporting, Darfur, Jews for vegetarian. That's fine because it's an identity. There's things that we do as part of things we do and things that are my core identity. I can't do things against my core identity. It's like, they say vegetarians for hot dogs. Well, I don't know if there's any meat in the hot dog anyway these days, but there's something in there. But meaning it's against my identity that doesn't work. A malach mechol doesn't have any room for any other behavior, any other thing. And therefore, he's 100% that. And therefore, it's not that he's not a nice guy. It doesn't get along. So what does that mean? So we have to have one more piece of information, which is fascinating. The definition of klipa and negative energy don't give. Like Esav says, have aliteni. Give. We say the lowest creature in the world is a yitaish. It's a certain type of insect or worm that doesn't even give excrement. It only eats. They say it's the lowest. You don't. If you take it, you don't give. It's the lowest. Chesed and Gevur are both holy. They both give. To say Gevur doesn't give is saying Gevur is not holy. Definition of holiness is that I give. So you can't say Chesed gives and Gevur doesn't give. You have to say is Chesed gives one way and Gevur gives another way. They both give. What's the difference? Chesed does not look if it's a good idea or not, if it's deserving or not, if it earned or not. Chesed says give. We once had a thing in Tanya that I think some of the women were like, what? Because we said that women are more din, are more gvura, men are more chesed. And you say, 1 second, it's the other way around. No. Women make a cheshbon. Is it smart for the kid to stay up late? Should they have more candy or not? Men go, okay, make them for lunch. We'll give them a chocolate bar for lunch. What does that mean? We don't make the same calculations as women. The definition of a gvura is, I want to know, did you earn this or not? Does it make sense? It's calculated, it's monitored, it's appropriate. Chesed doesn't think, is it appropriate? Did you deserve it? So Chesed just gives and says, it doesn't matter. You want, open the doors. Chocolate for everybody. Whatever you want. So Chesed just gives and doesn't consider if it's worthy or not. Gevura says, I will give, but only if you earn it. You have to show me I earned it. And therefore, Gevura wants you to come up to my level. Come up, earn it, and then I'll give you. And you will understand and appreciate what you're getting. Otherwise, you're not getting. Didn't earn it, you're not getting. So Chesed and Gevura are 2 different ways of giving. And this is what the argument is between Chesed and Gevura. Now, how could you come ever to a resolution of this? How could a person ever come to resolve it? That's what we're going to talk about here. How could Hashem make Sholom? So I'm going to tell you the answer now, just so we could enjoy this chapter, the flow very easy. This next piece. The answer is, when there's a metaphor given of a king who has different ministers, one minister's job is to do this. One minister's job is to, let's say one guy's in charge of saving money, one guy's in charge of spending money, one is in charge of efficiency, Doge, whatever you want to call it. Everyone does something else. They can have major conflicts. But why are they conflicting? Because they're not getting to the true self. You know what the real true self is? I'm not a minister of finance. I am the king's minister. What does the king want? And when are we able to get along? When we stand before the king and I put aside all our differences. It's like the CEO, the head of a Chabad house, the employee. When you stand by the ice, I bring them all the same. Well, what happened? Because our differences are gone now. We're all standing in front of the Rebbe. Someone standing, the two ministers in front of the king. What happens then? It's not that I cease to be me. I cease to be the me which is about me. And I become the me that's about the king. And therefore, when I'm a minister, we want the same thing. When I was acting my private thing, I want what I need, what my style, what my definition of how things should be done. I disagree. When I remember, it's not about me. It's nothing about me. It's about what the king wants. Suddenly we get along. We both want the same thing. We both have the same goal. We have differences in how we want to get there, our characters, our styles. But when we put the king in front of us, our deeper true sense comes out. So one layer is the water and the ice and the fire. Deeper is the behaviors of giving, different types of giving. Deeper is not about me at all. It's not about my character. It's about we are the king's employees or king's emissaries. I'm a Malach Hashem. Malach means a messenger of God. And therefore, I do exactly what the king wants. And suddenly my personal things of interest. What's that called? Introducing Tiferes. Tiferes is Chesed, Gevurah, and then it's Tiferes. Tiferes is the most beautiful and fascinating. Tiferes actually really is beauty. Why is it beauty? Because you lose the selfish aspect of it. We spoke many times. Another word for Chesed is Rachamim, the mercy. What does that mean? A Rechem means I have a womb. A womb means I am taking me and I'm making myself on the side. I'm making room for another within me. Myself is put aside and there's room for another. It's the ultimate kindness. I am on the side, there's room for somebody within me. Or in other words, let's say you have a person who is close friends with another person. I don't want to use examples of anybody. We know a guy is very close friends with somebody else. And the person who was your friend until today insults you publicly in a way that shames you and embarrasses you in a way that hurts so much, you don't think you ever talk to this person again. So you went from ultimate chesed to the person open, I appreciate love, and I have attraction to you. I went to closure, disconnect, not interested, to gvura. How could I ever go back to chesed? You can't. You can't. Because you just did something. I could be a measured amount of kindness. I could, I'm not going to hurt you, but I cannot love you anymore. I can't be your friend anymore because you hurt me. That is only true as long as there was chesed and gvura. Enter Tiferes. What's Tiferes mean? Empathy. The definition of Tiferes is empathy. What does it mean? It's not about me. What makes that person do this? What would make a person be so obnoxious to me in public? They're probably going through some pain. They probably had a really bad day. They probably were going through a moment of tremendous, lack of self-confidence or something else they went through, and they went through an experience that brought out the worst of them. I feel bad for them. Meaning the only way to come together is to stop living in my box, in my bubble. You hurt me. I can't. Tiferes means it's not about me. I am no longer part of the equation. Why did you do that? What made you do that? What hurts you so much? How are you so hurt that you said such a thing? In other words, they say when you have a child and the child's misbehaving, there's two approaches you could do. You could yell at him, you could ignore it, or you could do a third choice. Understand, why is the child misbehaving? What happened at home? Is he afraid of something? Is he covering up for something? Meaning, stop thinking about he's in my class and he's not functioning. Why? Meaning, let me understand him. That's called Tiferes. When we stand before Hashem, we put self aside, and that's when we can get along. I lose my own shtick or my own things, and I'm able to understand and welcome even that which negates me, even that which goes against my style. So when the chesed and gvura get together, well, there's overwhelming light from above. So I gave a metaphor before of someone hurting you, the cause of being selfless or putting self aside was empathy for him. Sometimes the cause of it could be because the king is here. I have such overwhelming light for above. I realize, am I being silly? I think it's about if I do it my way or your way. The king wants us to do the job for the kingdom. Hashem wants us to be his people. It's my way, it's your way. It's like the two brothers, if you've watched or read the book Exodus by Leon Uris. You have these two brothers who fight so strong. The movie also. You know what? We both want Israel to be successful. I believe it's going to be through negotiating with the British. You think you're fighting with the British, but we're brothers. We both want the same thing. Now, of course, as long as we're busy with that, we're struggling. It's a conflict. But that's only as long as we're busy with the details of the plan. Should we fight the British or should we negotiate with the British? But once you talk about back in the early days of Israel, but once you're able to see who we are, we both want Israel to be secure. And now we can understand this idea. There's a bigger picture to our identity. Of course, there are means how we achieve our goals. But the end of the day is, who are we really? We're Jews. We're Yidden. We're God's people. We're the angels. We're etc. And that's where we're going to go with this now. So let's get this inside. He said like this. So you have this now, this incident that takes place, where you have the fire and the water don't extinguish each other, even naturally they should. Why is that? Because Michal and Gavriel are going to make peace. Kalemer, we're at the beginning of the line. Because Michael, who was the minister, he's the angel, he is the chief angel. He has 151,000 something sub-angels working for him. He has a huge staff. All the thing, pure water. What does water mean? I flow downwards. Water is one thing. I flow down, I don't know. Unless something's in the way, I just flow and flow. I don't think how much water. We saw the tragedy happen in Texas this week. Unbelievable tragedy. What is that? The water flows down with nothing stopping it. Water's nature is. It doesn't make a cheshbon. They have enough water. Is there too much water? Water goes. The nature of water is it goes from a high place to a low place. In other words, in life, the giver is usually someone who's a higher place. It doesn't mean standing on a hill. It means in some way I was blessed. One of the reasons it says Rebbe, at the times of the Mishnah, he gave respect to wealthy people. He said if Hashem entrusted them with money, obviously there's something special about them. I should honor them. So if someone is empowered, that means they're in some way, if they could give tzedakah, they're on a higher level somehow. Unfortunately, some people with tremendous benefits or gifts abuse their powers. People are raised up high and abuse it. It's true. But someone who has tremendous wealth or blessings or wisdom or anything they can share means you're in a certain state elevated, and your nature is to give to those who have less than you. Those who are lower than you. It doesn't mean you're, again, not to make better or worse people, but those in this area are lower and you could give them. And that's what the idea of Michal is. That means flowing, giving a flow. Spreading the light, the life force, which is nature is to give light and life from the higher worlds to the lower worlds. We give. Now the zebras and the cows and the trees and the planets all are receiving sustenance from the higher realms of Michal. He is just giving and sharing tremendous light, life, etc. Then you have the other angel, Gavriel, Ubechinas Eish. On the other hand, Eish, fire, which is Gavriel. What's his nature? Holding back. Fire goes up. Fire goes up. I'm not going down there. We're high up here. Let's stay up here. Fire by nature stays up here. We don't go down. Let them come to us. They say, you know what? You can come up here, learn the ropes, do the training, get into the mode, earn it, and come up with us. In other words, fire's nature is not to go down. Fire to go down is a lot of effort. You gotta work hard. You gotta take a blowtorch or some other force, wind or power, and you can force the fire down to. But usually, the way it's done is you come up here, meaning earn it. We're not giving it to you; you have to earn it. In other words,
you light a candle, you see the fire.
Yeah, the fire goes up. So the nature of differences, Chesed and Gevurah, are both givers. One's a giver, one's a gate to let the water flow, and one says you earn it. You step up to the plate, you come up here, you rise to the occasion, you work hard and earn it. Two different methods of giving, but they both give. That means strictness. It does. Hastalkas means the holding back or the removal of hashpas hachayim, the life flow, the life force. Mimata lamaila. It goes only up from below to above. What does it mean? It goes from below to above. It doesn't go down. It doesn't stay down. You want it? Come up here and get it. Shaloi lashpia. It doesn't give sustenance. But simsum otzum, only with a very strong restriction. That means I'll give you, but only what you need. And this is like the ultimate extreme of, we say the mother is the one who does it with very healthy balance. But ultimate extreme of giving just exactly what you earned and nothing more. We have when we get to the end of the chapter, we'll share a very fascinating story. I don't forget, but Chenadim and Trajan, one of the 10 martyrs who were killed by the Romans, a horrible story. He was wrapped in the Sefer Torah scroll, and they put the wool on his chest. Very, very tragic story. He was the father-in-law of our mayor. He was the father of Bruria. So there's a fascinating story about him, which is very telling for this chapter. We'll get to that. But the bottom line is, it's only what's needed receives, nothing more. The hein midais, negdiais, these are opposite midais. Now remember, the word midais, by definition, means measured. Means they are they are parameters of the individual. That means the Michal and Gavriel, in addition to their identity as God's angels, they also have identity as parameters. Who am I? What type of angel am I? What's my portfolio? What do I do? They are midais, they are behaviors or attributes or measured behaviors that are opposite one to the other. That's if you're focusing on the parameters, on their midais, on their identity, how they focus within their job description. My job description and your job description are opposites. But we're brothers. So how do you get into that? That's the next line here. And by the way, I'll say that in one line. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says Sholom beinehem. Hashem makes peace between them. Now, when we have peace between people who are fighting made by humans, the peace, unfortunately, really is not called. We're not fighting. A truce, exactly. Shalom means we are not fighting. I am not fighting with you anymore. But does it mean that I am your partner? Does it mean that I am you? When Hashem makes peace, not only we don't fight, we complete each other. The definition of chesed and Beshna Gevurah, not like you say, okay, we're no longer fighting, and you look forward, and they're both walking side by side, not talking to each other. We're walking. No. Shalom means that not only when Hashem does shalom, not only we're no longer fighting, not only our differences not a conflict, I complete you and you complete me, like a marriage. A marriage is a definition of you couldn't find two more opposite people in a relationship. A male and a female. They're different, usually, not always, oftentimes opposite characters attract. A louder person, the quieter person, the more mature, the less mature, serious and not so serious. An organized person, a little more chaos. And you might think, who was thinking about this stuff here? Organized and chaos together in the same marriage? What's going to be? But that's why you make it perfect. Too much organization, too much chaos. Both of those things aren't good. You have to have a balance. You have to be generally organized, but okay sometimes. Like the Rebbe once wrote a letter about Shabbos of Rachel Farbringens. He said they shouldn't go too long. They should be short so you can go home after the Farbringen and share with your family what you heard at the Farbringen. Except on rare occasions when you go all out. Like when you go or you're full Farbringen. In other words, so what is
always.
Which means the Shabbos of Rachel Farbringen has to usually be limited, but sometimes, in other words, you have to have a balance. Sometimes you have to have, no noise. Like Shlomo Melech says, a time for this and time for that, time for this. You have to have the ability for time for each thing. If you're only one side, you're missing part of the story. So Hashem takes a man and a woman, and we get married, and we're different, and we complete each other. No difference than you have in any product that you make. You have very different to make a watch. All the pieces, you can't have all the same pieces. A better example would be in paintings. You can't have all the same color in the painting. It's a very boring painting. I'm making a painting out of blue. What's a painting of? Well, watch. The whole page is done. It's blue. Or if you take two colors, now you could take shades, and the more different things you come in, by the time you're done, you have a beautiful painting. So why? Because it's organized combination. It's not just chaos. It's differences. It's different colors, different shades, but it comes together like music or anything else. So that's the beauty. It says, what does Tiferes add to Chesed and Gevurah? Chesed and Gevurah were not harmonized. So because they each one being themselves. Tiferes says, guys, come together. I want to show you something really cool. Watch this. And he takes them, puts together into a beautiful portrait or a painting or a design. And you go, wow, you guys are awesome together. but you need to put stuff aside. Meaning, it's no longer about my color, no longer your color. It's about we're trying to create a picture. This is the idea of Sholom. This is the idea of what Hashem does in heaven to these angels. Let's finish these two lines here. Hakodesh Baruch Hu Eisa Shalom B'neihem Tanya They Gili Shem Isgal Hakodesh Baruch Hu. Oh no, Shem Isgal B'hen. Sorry. This that Hashem reveals a tremendous light from above. V'hashpa Atzuma Me'ed. And this is a great level. So until now, you were dealing. You were Chachma, you were Chesed, you were Gevura, and these guys are all proud of yourself. You have no idea your potential. You're living in a box of your own little story. If you allow yourself to open your eyes and see the big picture, allow Hashem into your world, you'll see the potential what you could become if you stop living in your own box of what I am instead of what we could be together. And that's what he says. It's Ein Seif Baruch Hu. To do this, it's not easy. It requires something outside the box. In order for the fire and the water to actually travel down as hail to this earth and not fight, they have to be able to cease being themselves. And that's only possible when you have the presence of Hashem. In other words, why did the fire not extinguish the water in the miracle of hail? It's because for a moment, their angels, who they really were, said, it's not about me. Let me put myself aside. And suddenly, I wasn't a conflict to you anymore. So how did the miracle of hail happen? Because in heavens, Hashem made peace between Michal and Gabriel. They could sit in the same, sandbox and not fight. They could sit in the same car ride, not fight over the space in the seat, because we realize it's something bigger going. We're going something special. We're doing something big, and that comes when you have Ein Seif, the essence of God's infinite light revealed. What does it mean, Ein Seif? It's infinite. The definition of infinite means I can't describe it. The second you have a description, it's not infinite. If you say it's hot, then it's not infinite. Why? Because it's not cold. If you say it's fast, it's not slow. If you say it's big, it's not small. If you say it's, whatever description you're going to be is suddenly limited. The definition of infinite means there's no limitation. It's not a number. What number is it? A billion? A billion's limited. It's infinite. Infinite means that, Hashem, there is no description. I can't say it's tall or short. I can't say it's strong or weak. Any description I give weakens it. When you allow that light into your life, that means you're not infinite. That means you also, until now, I was only myself. I was only fire. I was only water. And I couldn't go out of that box. We let the infinite light in me. There's a light that's not qualified, not quantified, not measured, not described. Hey, that's pretty cool. We can do anything. We can accomplish the impossible. And that's what it says. This infinite light, who what it's called is what it is. It is not, God forbid, and the Alter adds the word Chas Sholom because he wants to emphasize. The second you say God has any description, you just lost faith in God. God became a thing. God has no description. He's not tall and strong and loving and caring, compassionate. Those are components that are, or tools or expressions that Hashem could do. Hashem is infinite. Hashem is higher and higher to the infinite level. Even higher than the Chabad, Chachma, Bina, and Das, which until now we're talking Chesed and Gevura are the emotions. That's the lower level of godly expression. Chesed, Chachma, and Bina are much higher levels. That's Chachma. Gracious Chachma is a beginning. We're talking about even above Chachma, even above Bina, a Makar HaMidas, which is a source of the Midas. If you remember, we spoke in the very beginning of Tanya, in chapters 3, we spoke about, no, a little further, I think 4 or 5, I forgot exactly what chapter, about the Hashem created our souls. This part of God that we have inside of us has 10 powers. 3 of them are intellectual, cognitive abilities, Chachma, Bina, Das, and 7 are emotions. And we said in a functioning, healthy person, your intellect creates emotions. If you think something is good, then you want it. If you think something is bad for you or for your family, you don't want it. A child or the animal soul is the other way around. What do I want? And then you think, okay, it's a good idea. You know what? I'll tell you why I'm going to stay up late tonight. I'll tell you why I have 4 bars of chocolate. I'll tell you why I don't like this person. Your emotions come first. That's not functional. That's dysfunctional. Functional means that the Chachma and Bina, which is called father and mother, give birth to the trailblazers, which are the children, which are the emotions. So we see you have first the parents, Chachma and Bina, and then you have the emotions, which are the children. He says this level of infinite light comes even higher than the parents, higher than Chachma and Bina, and that's the area where there's truly no description. And in that world, we can create that there's no longer conflict between Chesed and Gevura, Vazai Hamidais Negdiais, and then the Midah, which are naturally opponents, Shal Michael and Gabriel, which are both Mechol and Gavril, which one's Chesed, one's Gvura, one's water, one's fire. Nechlois be'mikoidon, they get included in their source, which means they function as they are in their source. And next week, hopefully, we'll go a little further into, if I don't forget, to go into explaining a very profound aspect of this, and they become mamish, and they become actually as one. Chesed and Gevurah, Mechol and Gavril become one. Ubetelim be'edei yisbarach, and they become nullified completely in God's infinite light. And we'll continue from here next week. But the bottom line is, this is again, we didn't explain yet what's tzedakah, what's ma'aseh tzedakah, what's avodah tzedakah. We're explaining now that the idea of Sholom by Hashem means I'm allowing, and this is the key to take away from today, I'm allowing an infinitely greater light coming into my world, and then we can have peace. So what does peace mean? I stop living in my own bubble of my identity being in conflict with somebody else by allowing not so much about myself, but more about what unites us. As Jonathan Sachs used to say very often, if we focus on what unites us rather than what divides us, we'll get along very nicely. And that is a result of allowing an infinite light into our world. This is Tiferes, this beauty, this higher level, and this is already getting the picture where we're going with this chapter. But what the idea of Sholom means, allowing a greater light into the world. Obviously, when Mashiach comes, that's why you'll have peace in the world, because you have this greater light that will permeate everything, etc., etc.
Your story.
Oh no! So the stories have to come after
we have to. Oh, you said remind me.
Right at the end when we get to the point, because when we get to the explaining of what is ma'aseh tzedakah, avodah tzedakah, we have some stories that will bring out this point very nicely.
Oh.
If I don't forget, at my age, you forget sometimes. In any case, but luckily everyone else is young. But thank you once again for rejoining our class. We had a little hiatus. We'll have another one coming up soon when I leave to Hungary. That's going to be the 20th.
What?
Next Tuesday we're here.
Is a sit-in?
Sit-in camp.
Oh wow.
That's my fake job. My real job is here. My fake job is over there.
No, young people need to.
You know what? I enjoy it.
In Hungary, more than.
Yeah. Well, these camps I go because both I enjoy it and I feel that I can give something to them, something they need.
Yeah.
So anyway, l'chaim to Chavalei Bashpritza Bluma. L'chaim told me to mention, may Hashem give true peace to the families that need it, not the peace that comes, God forbid, later, to what the peace that comes in wholesome, healthy life, and truly give brachas to her family and to all the families that we know that need health. Hashem should give it. L'chaim.